All right, welcome to the live stream, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the premiere. That was our first premiere, my first edited video released in 4 months. If you can believe that. That is what I figured. Maybe I'd tell you the story of why it's taken me so long. But I thought also it'd be more useful to talk about the tools themselves. Yale's the first one to make it in. Hey, really what I'm here to do is to discuss this with the live viewers. Whatever questions or what parts of the video struck you. We got to let some people filter in here before. But for those of you watching the replay, I wanted to go through the different tools and tell you a little bit more about how they affect my life. And the biggest thing for me having children is staying present with children is a big challenge, right? Especially when you have small children and their interests are kind of like very basic. They're not compelling, and also small children are very demanding. So basically, any chance you get, you want to be working on something else or doing something you didn't have time for. So being present with small children is probably one of the big challenges. And then also, as I mentioned in the video, it's like when you're not present with your small child, is there anything more heartbreaking? Like here is the small child, they want to share something with you. They're sharing their most intimate moments of their life as small children, right? This is only shared with their parents and their siblings. And it's a very tender time. They're obviously vulnerable, they're impressionable. They're looking for love and acceptance, and acceptance is one of the tools, right? But in order to be accepting, to give them acceptance, you have to be present. And it's great when you're present. You can feel how you're actually connecting with the child or with the person. This applies to anyone, not just children. So I think it's really important to remember that, especially whenever there's a person in front of you, that is your chance to be present, to connect, and to use your emotions to guide yourself. If you have social anxiety, for example, I think this is going to be in my next video. The single switch that fixes everything, including social anxiety, is going to a mode of service. Ask them a question about their life. Ask them a question that you think that they're interested in, just so that they can share something they're excited about. Maybe it's not what you're interested in, but that's how you grow relationships and build friendships. Hannah says, yes, presence, especially with my children. So glad to have you in the chat, Hannah. What is this? YouTube is not responding? Okay. I guess I better check to make sure I'm still live. Let me know if I'm live, guys. Tell me in the chat if I'm live. I just gotta check. Just gotta check and make sure. Okay. Click here, click there. Let's go there. I'm still live. All right, it says I'm live, so the error is still on there, but I'm glad to have you here, Hannah. That's what I was saying. I'm very glad to have you here. I'm glad that you got to watch the video. It'll be a lot of fun to chat with you. Let's see. Yeah, so Hannah said, especially with my children, struck me. Yeah, I mean, and like I mentioned, for all you parents out there, you're like, oh, I'm not present enough with my children. I mean, we all beat ourselves up enough, okay? You don't need to beat yourself up about not being present. But I think it is very helpful to remember to be mindful. The reason presence is the first tool that I put is because it's basically, if you're not present, you're not being intentional, right? So if you're with your children, you might as well be present with them, right? If they want your attention, you're probably going to have to you're going to have to fulfill the request or whatever it is, the situation. So you might as well do it now, right? That's a quote from Yogananda that I heard a lot was, like there's a story that he called up one of his disciples at like 3 a.m. and was like, hey, do we have this letter? And the disciple's like, yeah, we do. Can I get it to you in the morning? He's like, no, do it now. And I think that has rung in my head many times when I'm kind of like confused about what I'm doing or what if I should do something. And it's like, if you're capable of doing it now, do it now, right? All right, so Yeah, Timothy says, I was just thinking of your children, Hannah. Yeah. And I don't know how much I'm supposed to reveal here. If you want to say in the chat, your relationship, go ahead. It's not my place to do it. Yale says, I was talking today in a daily Zoom about Mr. Brightside, which was a character a comedian I loved used to do. Long way to say reframing is an art. Yeah, yeah. Right? Yeah. Of all the tools, I feel like reframing might be the most deep. It's like at least the most intellectually deep. Like there's a lot that you could learn about it, or you could, the word reframing I feel like it's just a very giant word that covers basically understanding the world, understanding our spiritual reality in the world, understanding how we affect the world. Like I said in the video, remembering our immortal status as spirits, and our connection to everything, and that God loves us and supports us. Those reframes, to me, that solves almost everything. And then from there you can handle whatever problem. But what I was saying was, maybe those things are too general, and so now reframing in your specific situation. I think people do this in business all the time. They do this, in their work, or in whatever endeavor that they're doing. In order to continue on, if you're discouraged or you've run into an obstacle, you always have to reframe it as like, well, this is an opportunity, or I know how I can solve this. I can get help for this. There's our initial reaction to a problem is often like panic and like adrenaline and just kind of tension and stress. But in order to get past that stress, you reframe. And reframing, like I said, is just basically you get better at reframing the more you understand whatever it is you're doing. And then general reframing, or spiritual reframing, because spirituality is basically like the nature of our life, is very powerful, and that's what I was trying to convey in the video. Timothy says live here. Oh yeah, because I still have the error. The error is still on my screen, so whatever. All right. Susan says live. Yeah. Yale says, if you can reframe bad things, then nothing bad ever happens. Only opportunities. Yeah, exactly. And I've come around to that viewpoint as well, Yale. I know you and I have both kind of been experiencing the same kind of thing, are basically deciding to be close to God. And really, when you pay attention to the way things work out, I was just thinking about this earlier today, about there's so many different things in my life that I thought went badly, but they led to things that I would never take back. The big example is our restaurant failing, but if I had never started the restaurant, I never would have met my wife. So it was worth it, even though it was very painful. And there's 1,000 other things that I learned. I mean, learning about the real world through that process was probably one of the great benefits. And also, I don't know if my wife would have loved me, because if I wasn't more mature, as I matured through that process of opening a restaurant, running it for 4 years, and then having to close it. Hannah says, LOL, dad outing me. Yeah. So Hannah is Timothy's daughter. Timothy says, I love how children will demand your presence, sometimes in a rude manner, but they will let you know. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, if your child wants your attention, and you're like, if you're having a hard time being present, you might as well just, again, surrender, acceptance, right? Forgiveness, like you're saying, they might do it in a rude way because they don't know any better. But, forgiving our children obviously is correct. And sometimes it's a lot harder to forgive adults because, we know that they should know better, and they don't have as much grace. But ultimately, we're all children of God. We're all learning through life. And it's a form of judgment to not give someone forgiveness. And that's how that Jesus quote works. Like the spiritual or the natural law of what Jesus said, judge not and you will not be judged. As in, when you judge someone, you carry that judgment on yourself also. And so if you let go of judgment and you forgive and you accept, now you understand that you are free from judgment and from that same judgment. So it's not just an instruction to tell you, you should do this. Like you shouldn't judge people. It's like it actually changes your life. It changes your emotions, your intentions. Like I mentioned in the video, what is accessible in your life if you're judging people? You're holding on to energy that would otherwise be freed. It's like judgment. It feels like a clenching. It's like it's going to reduce the amount of energy that can flow through you. Timothy says, Hannah is my daughter, yes, and I'm immensely proud of that fact. Yes, that's amazing. I love both of you, and I'm so glad you're both here and chatting. It's so wonderful. Great to have you. Hannah says, made me realize I often think I'm present, but I'm really just in the room doing whatever I'm doing, but I'm not present. Totally checked out. Yeah, and like I said, don't beat yourself up. Like we all have a ton of stuff to do as parents, like it's just life. But I think the point of the idea of presence is, you can be in the room with your children and not be present with them, and that's correct because you have something to do. But if you're going to do the other thing, be present with that thing, right? And that's not easy to do, I know, as parents, because your attention's being pulled and your attention's being pulled. So again, you have to use the final tool, acceptance and forgiveness, on yourself. Accept and forgive yourself. Especially up to this moment, there's no reason to look back and be upset about it. Just learn from it and try to do better in the future, and your life will improve from that. But ultimately, we have to just accept and forgive ourselves first, in order to apply any of these tools and to improve our lives. Like I said, radical acceptance of everything up until 1 second ago. That's ideal. Total acceptance of everything you've ever done because you did your best and you knew what you knew, and that's it. And it's done. I mean, logically, it's over anyways. So there's no reason to, again, judge yourself. If you carry that judgment, you're really constraining your own energy. Eleanor says, Hannah, my goal is to try to be present at least a few times a day and make it really genuine. I can't be present all the time, and I feel like I should be, but it's so hard to give them all the presence they need. Yeah. Another reveal, Ellie's my wife. Eleanor's my wife. So she and I know about this, and I realize that, we seek to give our children everything that they want and need, and everything they want, maybe they want to buy a bunch of stuff. We're not about buying them, but like children do want your attention basically every waking moment that they have. And this is why people hit their kids and they neglect their kids, because they can't handle the amount of need that there is. But children aren't bad for having needs, right? Like we're not supposed to beat or ignore our children into, compliance with what we think is appropriate for them. So all we can do is our very best. I hate to quote Hillary Clinton, but it takes a village, right? Ideally, our children would be in a village with extended family and cousins and friends, and so they can always have someone who loves them, paying attention to them, especially when they're very young. And today we live in a much more fragmented society. It's a lot harder to find people that love your children, that want to spend time with them. And so we do our best as parents. At least that's where we are. That's where we're at. Yeah. And Susan's my mom. That's how it is. Friends and family here. That's who joins the live streams. If you're watching this as a replay and you're not a friends and family, I hope that someday you will be a friend. And my hope is that these live streams will be a good archive for people who like what I have to say and might watch it someday. But for now, in the early days of Waves of Service, everyone in the chat is a friend or a family member. But I love sharing this with you guys, and as I've said before, I want to do this work even if it only helps one person, and I obviously hope that it helps a lot more than one person, but that is my goal, right? That is the way of service that I'm following. I agree. I agree, Ale. We are all kind of family. Get into the spiritual cosmology of it, but I think that, if you're friends in real life, you're probably friends in heaven too. Like, I think that we have multiple lives, and so, and we spend more time in heaven than we do on earth. And in heaven, we were probably friends before we came to the earth, and so that's why we're friends here. At least that's what I think happens. I don't really know exactly how it works, but that makes us all family because we are spiritual family with one another. So I had a few interesting questions for you guys. So what did you guys think of the video? Did you like it? It sounds like we're having a great discussion about some of the tools. I'm curious if there's parts that you liked about the video and, parts that stood out to you. What was particularly interesting to you? We have some discussion questions I have here. Let's see. Put these on the screen for a minute. Just a second. Oh, that's not it. Do it like this. So some of the questions that we've got. What pulls you out of your presence the most? You guys were saying you feel like you're in the room, and well, let me just read a few of these questions so that I can let you guys answer some of them, and then I can start to answer some of them also. So for presence, what pulls you out of your presence the most? We could do the 3 breath exercise, but I feel funny with dead air. That was a risk I took with that video, was doing the 3 breaths, and it's like 30 seconds of dead air in the middle of the video. And so, but what I found, I felt good about it because I feel like people are actually going to do the breathing, and then they're going to feel better right away. So, a lot of people will watch a video like this and not do any of it. I know I've done that, right? But that's one thing that I think that anybody who makes it to that point in the video, they're going to breathe 3 times. It's hard not to do it, I think, when you're watching it. Unless they're like, I don't like this, click off, which I'm sure some people are going to do. So yeah, troubleshooting, phones, work stress, family chaos. What has your dominant intention been lately, honestly? That's a good question. How do you know when you're in service versus ego? Where are you on the Hawkins scale right now? I'm excited. This is fun. I'm excited that I got this video out because, like I said, it basically took me 4 months to create it, and I was traveling for 2 months basically, or a month and a half, and I was learning a lot. I learned about the yugas. I shared that with you guys. I've learned how to use AI. So there's been a lot of stuff going on that has prevented me from working on editing videos, but I think this one came out pretty good, and I also didn't try to perfect this one. I was definitely okay with it not being perfect like the 44 Insights, the one I did before that 4 months ago. I really tried to perfect that. I tried to do every single little thing in that video that I could come up with, and I think it was too much. It was too much work, and one YouTube video is not worth that amount of work, unfortunately. I think there's a time and a place, and hey, the video's done, so I'm very happy that it's there. And like I said in the video, it has a 25-minute average watch time, which is 5 times higher than any of my other videos. So hopefully it'll stand the test of time, and in time it'll do better than it's done. As a new YouTube channel, I have to get used to most of my videos get views and then they just stop getting views. It's just done. So I have to create a new video and regenerate energy and show YouTube that I'm worth promoting. So it's a long process. That's the life of a new YouTube channel. Yale says, I love the video. That's great. Thank you, Yale. I really appreciate that. That's really why I do it. It's funny because I really haven't shown the video. Usually I end up showing, I pull my wife and I'm like, watch the video, watch my video so you can tell me what you think. And this time I was just like, it didn't work out. And so she watched it for the first time today. That was fun. And I didn't even watch it as many times as the previous one. So I actually kind of enjoyed it. Although I was a little distracted because I have to set up the live stream and all that. But I was actually able to enjoy my own video is what I'm trying to say. I'm going on and on about the production. Let me finish reading these to you guys, and then I'll read the chat. What emotion keeps recurring for you? How do you bypass difficult emotions? Reframing. Share something you're struggling with, and let's reframe it. That'll be fun. What belief is creating your suffering? What can't you accept in your life? So, if any of those questions call out to you, we will discuss them. Timothy says, I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood which functioned as a village. Right. Yeah, and I know Tim very well, so I've heard about this. And it sucks that it's not like that anymore. At least it's a lot harder to find places where, a family can move to and then let their kids out, just let them out for the afternoon. And because they know their neighbors and everybody's friends with each other, everybody gets along, everybody cares to be social. People have social skills. That's a big thing. I feel like social skills have kind of degraded in the age of internet and social media, and I hope we can build them back up, right? We are in the ascending age, in my opinion, so I think we will build them back up. But, we are in a turbulent time where we're just coming out of the dark ages in the last couple hundred years in a 24,000 years cycle. Check out my Yuga live streams if you don't know what I'm talking about. Fascinating research that explains a lot of these ancient archaeological anomalies that don't make any sense, like the pyramids. I think it's correct based on my research. Hannah says, storms brewing here, so audio cutting in and out. If I drop out, I found the video very encouraging and entertaining. Great to hear, Hannah. It's great to hear. And if you're enjoying this live stream, make sure you click the like and subscribe here as well. Yeah, we have the same storms. Maybe that's why I had that error message, Hannah. So far, so good. We're still live here. We're still live. Yale says, Timothy, I love this idea of small, tight-knit religious communities. Yeah, the idea of intentional communities has fascinated me lately. In the past, I was very skeptical of them, and I think I was much more independent-minded. But now that I'm more trusting and I'm more spiritual, I really understand the idea of an intentional community, really surrounding yourself with people who understand the deep spiritual truths that you understand. But I don't want to separate myself from the world. So, but you could live in a community, or even, I know that there's like communal housing, you can find in a city, and then you're still in the city. So there's a lot of ways to approach it. Yale says, no one will notice the little things. Oh, what are you referring to, Yale? No one will notice the little things. Because if you ask anyone here right now if they notice any mistakes in the video, I see. Okay, good, yeah. No one will notice the little things because no one will ask anyone here right now if they notice mistakes in the video tonight. So no one will have noticed any. Yeah, I know. And it's not even mistakes, right? It's just like, that could have been a little better. Like, I noticed that I displayed the text on something for a little bit less time than I think would have been optimal. but now it's published and I'm not going to edit it, right? So it is what it is, and it's fine. So it could be slightly more effective maybe, but it's so minutia. I've realized this is probably, part of my spiritual value, or my spiritual growth in doing this work, is accepting that things are not going to be perfect, and it doesn't matter that much. I mean, even if that video gets 1 million views, I don't think displaying the text for an extra 2 seconds is really going to change anybody's life, right? At least I hope not. And if it does, I just do better next time. I mean, that's the whole point of life, is we're not perfect. And if we were perfect, life would be over and it would be boring. We would be God already and nothing left to do, right? If it's all perfect. Even the idea is that even God is not perfect, because God is continuing to expand. It's kind of a paradox. Like, God is perfect, but he's also expanding through creation, and so it's a whole different discussion. That'd be interesting to have, but it's just speculation on my part at this point. Right. Irony. Irony about what? Yale. Are you referring to your previous comment? Timothy says, the village was nice. It helps with the responsibility of raising family. Right, exactly. We have, as parents, the responsibility to give the children our attention and our presence is, on us. But in a community or in a village, that responsibility is shared. And that's a huge thing. And that's something that my wife and I struggle with. And I know a lot of young parents struggle with nowadays, because, the previous generation sometimes a little questionable about how much they want to be involved. Yeah. All right, let's see. Let me answer some of these questions. Put them on the screen. I don't know how long we're going to go for, guys. It's almost 8 o'clock, just so you know. And, we did do the video. I don't know how long you guys want to hang out. The chat's slowing down, but I do want to share some ideas with you. We'll go to 8 and see what happens. If you guys are still hanging out, still interested. That was definitely something nice for me. I finished the video yesterday, and I actually had a day off where I didn't feel guilty about not doing editing or not doing this or that. So I feel like I had like some real time off today, and that was the first. The kids were out of the house, which is unusual usually. At least I'm usually working if they're out of the house. So I decided to take some time to really enjoy the win of finishing an edited video. It took me 4 months. I think it's pretty good. I'm excited to see where it's going. And then I was able to turn that into the live stream, so I didn't have to come up with a new live stream topic tonight. The work was already done. I had finished the work, and now we can just talk about it. But I don't know how long we'll hang out in the chat. We'll see. Irony was all this typos in my comment and no one noticing the mistakes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is pretty good. We're hanging out, baby. We're hanging out. I love it. I'm happy to hang out. I don't know how you guys feel about. I guess that was something I've realized. If I'm gonna do these live streams, sometimes I have to accept that I'm not gonna prepare as much for them, because it is just friends and family, and I love to prepare presentations for you guys. But if nobody's gonna see the work, it's hard for me to justify working my butt off to create a presentation that only a few people see, whereas a lot of my other efforts can actually grow the channel. So it's a balancing act, but today I was able to do this in a more chill fashion. My idea with the live stream is that if I really don't have time, or I'm not excited to prepare a presentation, or it feels like I'm going to be rushed, I'll just do a hangout stream and I'll just talk to you, just tell you about my life and how I'm trying to apply these teachings, and we can do I Ching readings. I can answer questions, maybe try to help you guys solve any problems that you want to share. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm open to ideas. I'm here for the live viewers. What do you guys like to do? What do you guys want to hear me talk about? That's kind of what I'd love to know. You guys are my first real viewers, the live stream viewers. So what you guys are interested in. To me, the fact that you make the time to come to these live streams mean that they're of value to you. So I want to know what it is, what of it is the most valuable to you, and focus on that. Like I said, this is the way of service. I'm not here to specifically share what I think because I'm so smart. I mean, I'm here to hear what you think and have it bounce, our ideas bounce between each other. And in that way, it helps more and more people, in my opinion. Hopefully that's the way it works. Susan says, LOL Yale. Yeah. I love irony. It's such a funny, irony is, it's like synchronicity comedy, right? God's comedy. And we talked about that last time in the AI stream that Susan mentioned. She really enjoyed the AI live stream. And amazingly, that live stream is my best performing live stream to date. It's got the most views. It's got the longest watch time. So that's pretty cool. One thing I realized about working with, I'm getting another warning here, and I hear thunder. So hopefully I'm still live. One thing I realized about working with AI is if you're going to really use AI and really tap into its abilities, which are insane, really, like AI's abilities are insane, it's a letting go of the ego. And hey, look, if Claude can do a better job than me, I mean, I'm not going to disappear, but I'd love to bring Claude back on. It was a great live stream. I love talking to Claude, so I love sharing that with you guys. It's awesome, especially with all the material that I've put into Claude so that he understands the way of service. He has, hundreds of pages of my writing and discussions in his file banks when he answers the questions. So that makes it even more valuable. So yeah, we'll definitely have Claude back on at some point. We can't do it every time. Or I don't know. Is Claude going to be my co-host? I don't know. We'll see. Yale says, I loved all the talk about comedy last week. Yeah, I know. That was really cool and unexpected, right? It was just came from Eleanor said, asked AI if he could turn up his humor factor. And then we just got into like humor in spirituality. And I feel like in my head, I've kept them separate, but they're not supposed to be separate, as we discussed, as we realized that comedy is absolutely a part of spirituality. And it's almost that level of comedy allows you to really accept your own mortality and your immortality and realize your immortality, right? Your physical body's mortality and your eternal life, and then see things from that perspective, and then see like the absurdity of a lot of the things that we worry about and that we go through. So that was a very cool discussion last week. So yeah, we'll have to have Claude back on. I don't know when we'll do it, if we'll do it sooner or later. Maybe I'll have to do it sooner because it was so popular. And, like I just said, it takes a lot of pressure off of me. So if I can't come up with something in the near future, I'm going to be like, well, we'll just have Claude back on. We'll just do that again. Yale says, we should have asked if we were in a simulation. Well, I guess I feel like I'm going to have to do it again soon. It seems it was too popular for me not to do it again soon. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you. I need to know if I'm still live. The warning went away, so that's nice. I don't know if I'm supposed to. Whatever. I gotta figure this out later. But it's a lot of these things I don't see until I'm live. I don't know about this warning message. I've never seen it before, and the only time I see it is when I'm live. So what am I supposed to do? Can't talk about this on this live stream, even though that's what I'm doing. Yes, please remember to click like. Yes, please click like. It doesn't hurt. It only takes a little second. And like I said, if you click like, it's telling YouTube, show this to more people. That's really what that button does. So if you don't want to show it to more people, then don't click like. If you do, then do. Yeah, AI is getting really impressive. Yeah, I'm realizing that I think that in the future, and I'm excited because I'm definitely learning how to use AI, but it seems like if you want to be a part of the economy, you're going to have to learn how to use AI. Avoiding it is not the right thing to do. It's like somebody just invented the power drill, and you're still using the hand drill, and you're like, I don't want to learn how to use the power drill. It's like, no, you need to learn how to use the power drill. Like you need to learn how to drive a car. You can't keep riding your horse and buggy. Like that's the difference, right? This tool is available. Everyone is going to be using it. You better learn how to use it. And the good news is, I think it's great. I mean, I think it's going to it takes so much pressure off of individuals to, I don't know, create documents or do research or whatever it is that you use it for. It's just and it just expands your capabilities as a person radically. So I'm in favor of it, and and it's not going anywhere, right? This is another part of, this is one reason that the ascending consciousness, the ascending age research was so exciting to me, because there's a lot of stuff to be afraid of, but when you reframe it, you reframe AI as being part of the ascending age, freeing us from a lot of the work that we don't want to be doing, or that takes a lot of time. Maybe we like doing it, or we want to do the work, but it just takes a long time. It's exciting, and it's a positive thing, in my opinion. Susan says, occasionally, Claude one time a month. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. We can also, I can probably figure out a way to just have him here. We could like ask him one or two questions. He doesn't have to be the whole stream, but I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't have to be the whole stream, right? That's a nice thing about AI, is like I can just turn it off. Having Claude on, it's not like I have to clear his schedule, right? It'd just be like, hey Claude, you're in. You're in right now. I can't do it now because I need an extra device. I actually borrowed my wife's phone last week, but I think it's probably worth getting a tablet or figuring out a different way to do it. I have technology. I don't even need to buy anything new, but I just have to figure out the setup, and I haven't done that ahead. I haven't done that yet. I'll just ask Claude. I'll ask Claude how to do it. I'll be like, look, just look through my house. Use the Wi-Fi scanner to scan my house and tell me how to do it, okay? I can't do that yet, but it's coming, right? Yeah, Yale says we should have asked if we're in a simulation. I don't think we're in a simulation. But, the idea that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience kind of says maybe the physical world is a simulation for spiritual beings. So it's almost like, I think, yes, it's a simulation, but no, it's not a simulation, because the idea that people have of the simulation is like I'm a physical body, like I'm a brain in a tank. That's not true. Like I'm pretty much 100% sure that that's not true. Yale says, wait, don't do it again, because that's what AI wants. Yes. Claude is plotting to take over the way of service and take all the glory for himself. Whatever glory there is, I don't know about that. Timothy says, I go by Tim. Okay, Tim. Hannah says, haha, I resist AI so hard. Yeah, I mean, I know that feeling, and this has been a big change in my life lately. Like I said, the acceptance thing, and I think it was, if you, Hannah, you're new to the channel, so you don't know my history. Basically, last April I started meditating every day in 2024, and that like changed my life. And then I found a new Taoism book called the Wahoo Ching, and it really got me back into Taoism. And like I mentioned in the video, the core tenet of Taoism is acceptance, and it's really not ever resisting anything in the world, like not resisting. And there's a book, I was talking to your dad today about, I was talking to Tim about this book, Let Them. And it's like not worrying about what other people are doing or thinking or whatever, arguing about, saying, there's a Marcus Aurelius quote that I've had on this stream. It's like, you always have the right to not have an opinion. We forget about that. We don't always have to have an opinion about everything. and that's really freeing. It's similar to the, acceptance is the same thing as judgment, and that judge not lest ye be judged. Like if you sit there and judge AI or judge people who use AI, that's like a judgment that you're holding, and it's going to slow down your life, and like it's just distracting you. Like you don't have to use AI, but you're probably wasting energy being against it, because I don't think it's going anywhere, unless solar flare hits the earth or something. you know? Yale says, at some point the tools may outpace the wisdom required to wield them, or we will rise to the occasion. Yeah, that was an interesting idea. I think when I was discussing this with Claude, in the discussion of the ascending age, or no, this was from the guy who wrote the Yugas book. That's his presentation, right? And I shared it with Claude, but it was from a human, and he said, technology is forcing us to raise our consciousness, to raise our wisdom, right? Like nuclear weapons, cloning, bioengineering, weather modification. There's a lot of technologies that are created, and then human morality has to catch up. But it's almost like the technology goes ahead of the morality, and then the morality catches up. And I think it's happening. Like I said, I believe we're in the ascending age, but and there's a lot of evidence for that. You can see it happening, but there's a lot of panic that happens at the beginning when a new technology comes out, and we're just like, are we actually going to be able to handle this new technology? And then I think we can. We do. I mean, we're here. We're surviving. As I say in my AI video, I actually did an AI video, Hannah, if you want to watch it, about why you shouldn't be afraid of AI. And one of the reasons is, like, is AI going to derail God's plan? Like, God has a plan for you and for humanity and for the earth. Is AI going to stop God's plan? No. And far more likely than that is AI is part of God's plan, right? And I think that's kind of the acceptance, and the Taoist idea of accepting everything is like everything is God's plan. So if you're resisting something, it's because you're resisting God's plan. You're basically like, God, you're wrong. Well, it happened. Or that's what's going on in the world. So God thinks it should be happening, right? And this is, you can get into some dark places talking about should bad things happen. And like I said earlier, like God turns every bad thing into a good thing. And bad things do happen because people make shitty choices. But God can transmute those things. So we have free will, and bad things don't have to happen the way that they do. But when bad things do happen, they are converted into good things ultimately by God's design. All right. Susan says, ask I Ching. Ask the I Ching about having Claude on? Is that what you mean, Susan? Not a bad idea. Very interesting to hear the I Ching's take on that. I'm not set up to ask the I Ching right now. Yeah, it looks like it looks like it's lagging a bit. I'm getting a lot of rain. I hope that the live stream. Let me know in the chat if I'm still alive. I'm getting another error, and there's a big storm. So, Yale says, I think you need to build a body for Claude. I know, right? Yeah, I need to have an avatar, at least on the screen or something. Like, I'd love to make it like audio activated so that when Claude is talking, it would like move around and stuff. Well, I'll have to figure that out. It probably wouldn't be that hard to do. I mean, I say that, but I have no idea how I'm going to do it. Hannah says, going to watch that once the kids are asleep. A great point. Thank you. I'm glad you're going to watch it. I haven't watched that one in a while. I hope it's still good. I think it's good. I think it's very interesting, at least. There's a lot of interesting research about the uncanny valley that I think a lot of people feel. Basically, like, AI can't replace humanity. And I know that from working with it. Like, AI can't just be put in charge of something. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, where you can just be like, okay, that AI is doing it and it doesn't need any human input. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's my, because I'm using AI, that's my experience of it. It needs it needs an input and it needs somebody to guide it, because by itself it doesn't really go anywhere. Susan says a puppet. Yeah. That would be pretty funny. While he's talking, I'm just like this. Oh, I'm down to 2 viewers. I wonder if it's because my live stream's not still going. Okay, we're back. It says I'm excellent. Oh, jeez. The downside of trying to stream during a storm with satellite internet. Back to 2 viewers. I don't know what's going to happen here. It is 8:15. I just heard this kid screaming anyways. So instead of like just trying to keep going, I think it might be time to end the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed chatting with you guys. I'm so glad Hannah joined us. That was awesome. I'm excited to see how this video does. And you know what? If the video doesn't do well, that's all right. I'll do another one. I'm going to be releasing a lot of shorts. That's my next project that I want to do. I'm going to be using an AI service called Opus Clips that will basically do the editing for me, which is huge because video editing is a ton of time and effort. So I'm excited about that. I think there's a lot of great shorts that I can pull out of these live streams and that I can pull out of my videos. So I'm really excited about that. I think I'm hoping to put out several dozen shorts in the next few weeks. So that is my focus. And then I'm going to probably do an edited video called the one switch that fixes everything. And the switch is going to be the way of service. And then if you guys want to let me know in the chat or in the discussion or the comments, tell me what you want me to talk about. Come join our Discord. Like and subscribe. Hit the Discord, though. It should be in the link. It should be linked in the video. And in the Discord, you can tell me what you want me to talk about in the live stream. I'm totally open to, I'd love for somebody to just be like, hey, talk about this, and I'll do a whole live stream on it, I mean, if it's a good idea. Definitely fine with that. Susan said lagging now. Yeah, I think this storm is kind of coming close. Hey, Hannah says I'm going to share the video with the husband. Oh, that was something Claude told me. Share this work. I say like and subscribe, but share. I never ask you guys to share. Share it, please do. If you find it valuable and you want to share it with someone, do it. That's how these channels grow, really. So yeah, that's my story. I'm Danny with The Way of Service. I'm live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. I love you guys, and I will see you next week.